Welcome back, dear listeners. It's that time again. The moment when we fling open the doors to our audio sanctuary and invite you into the vast expanse of stories that awaits. In this brand new season, Elise Litwin, the fiery redhead herself, takes the mic with renewed vigor. She's armed with curiosity, empathy, and a passion for unearthing the extraordinary within the ordinary. So what can you expect? Uncharted conversations, guest stars, themes that resonate. Your voice matters. So hit that subscribe button, find a cozy spot, and let's embark on this adventure together. Wide Open Spaces is more than a podcast. It's a community, a place where hearts connect, minds expand, and souls find solace.
We're taking a deep dive into Season 5. This is episode number 156, Have You Activated Yourself? Wide Open Spaces with Elise here and the Fiery Redhead. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you love listening to your favorite podcast. Now let's pop in our earbuds and let's listen and evolve together. I have to first say before I move on again how I love my new theme song. It just is me. So thank you again, once again. I collaborated with Shad Music, got to know me a little bit, and made the perfect theme song for me. So go and look up Shad Music. It's got his own album that you can listen to if you love some good rock music. So here we are with the second episode in season 156. Have you activated yourself? It's a little quote from me. In the vast canvas of life, every brushstroke is a story, every color a feeling, and every space a breath of possibility. What's your possibilities? What inspires you? What brushstrokes are you using to create your own story? And what's your canvas of life? Just a little food for thought as we start this. I told you this season was going to be a different look, a different sound, different insights, and different feelings. And I'm so excited. Not ready to announce it yet, but I have my first guest lined up for the end of this month. And I'm really excited about it. And well, if you're a loyal listener, I've only ever really interviewed family and friends because that was my comfort zone. But right, we're all about stepping out of our comfort zone. So I'm going to have my first interview one-on-one with a podcaster who has their own podcast, but just happens to have a topic that fits in with the theme of this season of loving yourself. And that's how we're going to evolve here this year and the next year to come. Evolving. And I've got a lot of new things coming on in my life that I hope through my insights, through my experiences, we can evolve together, that I can move you forward in the journey of your life. So the topic is, have you activated yourself? First, let's talk about the word activated. Now, there's scientific definitions and psychology definitions. There's a behavioral and an emotional aspect to being activated. Some behavior that you do activates you to do something. An emotion that you feel activates you to do something. What's activate? Activate is like a spark. I'm not going to get into the scientific jargon. I did quote the definition in my latest blog with the same title of this podcast. Blog is always a little bit different. And if you want that definition, head over to my website at wideopenspaceswithelise.com and you can check out that scientific definition of being activated. But it's radioactivity. It's something that sparks something to move. So your behaviors can spark you to move, either forward or backwards, and your emotions, either forward or backwards. And that's where we're going to sit with this word activated in your behavioral and your emotional aspects. Because we're all here about you, not necessarily about science. I can give you book smarts from classes that I've taken, but that's not why you're here. You can Google anything you want to Google. You're here to experiment, to learn through my knowledge, through what I activate in you. And what do I mean by have you activated yourself lately? Well, I look at activated as an empowerment word, a word that sparks a thought, a movement. Let's sit for a moment. And I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to sit in front of a mirror as you close your eyes. So if you're not there, stop this podcast, put it on pause. And when you go home or you have a minute to pull out a mirror out of your bag or your backpack or something, then restart. So you're sitting in front of a mirror, which gives you a reflection, but I'm asking for you to close your eyes right now. Just go with it. Don't fight me on this, okay? My loyal listeners, I need you to go with it with me. Okay, so we're closed our eyes, we're in front of a mirror. I want you to envision, how do you see yourself? As if you're looking at yourself. What parts do you see that are positive aspects? And what parts do you see that are negative? Now, I want you to go beyond the physical and dive deep inside yourself. What are the positive aspects about yourself? And what are the things that hold you back? Those negative things that keep you from moving forward in the process of truly loving yourself. Don't tell me you don't have any. We all have some. Maybe it's as simple as you love the sound of your voice. Maybe it's you love the kindness you treat others with. You know, when we criticize ourselves, it's, I didn't do this right. I don't do this well enough. But there are things in your everyday existence that you do well. That is a positive aspect of yourself. Okay, so you've got this vision. You've got the positive areas that you feel good about yourself and the negative. And kind of envision the emojis that we have at the bottom of our phone or that you use on social media. And put those emojis that represent to you positive in those positive areas of how you see yourself. And then do the same with those negative emojis, like the little shit emoji. Put that maybe in areas that you really want to work on with yourself. See yourself. Now open your eyes and look at yourself. What do you see? Do you see anything different? Or do you see that same person staring back at you? Knowing the positive things and the negative things that you've just identified, do you see yourself any differently? Do you feel any differently? Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit of insight. Maybe a little bit of, a little bit of positive self-talk going on. But that's not truly getting activated. Now, what I just had you do, I want you to jot down those positive and negative aspects of yourself. They're going to be as a form of reference in this process of evolving and loving yourself. And we're starting with this activation and being activated. we're utilizing activation therapy. And so, this task that I just had you do is the intro to your activation therapy. And maybe even later on, if you're like to be a little artsy, go and draw your image on a piece of paper and then put those negative and positive things that you thought about. But jot them down quickly just so they don't get lost in the everyday, everything trash that goes on around us in our brains and everywhere in the world that clutters our brains. Put it down so it's there and clear and for you to reference back to. So if you're new to me, well, you'll realize this after listening to me for a while in some of my podcasts. And if you are one of my loyal friends, you know I am a reality TV junkie. And so I may quote and I may bring things up from reality TV every now and again. And I'm about to do that right now. And I guess I do it because it's partial reality, partial scripted, but you're still seeing the dynamics of people. And so in those dynamics spark all kinds of thoughts for me and ideas. And I love Summer House, which I've mentioned recently because it always comes out right before summertime. And now we've just had Memorial Day, so it was our official launch of summer. So in Summer House, there's a cast member named Lindsay Hubbard. And Lindsay Hubbard likes to say, "Don't activate me. You don't want to see me activated." And I always loved when she said that because it was like a forewarning. It didn't, depending on the situation, it could be that she was referring to being explosive, or you don't want to put me there because you're really going to see where I'm going to go with this and what I'm going to do with this. And you might not want me to go to that level with you. And there's even shirts on Etsy that say, "Don't activate me." So it's always kind of stuck in my head. This was a few seasons ago where she first said this. And the word activated has always kind of stayed in my vocabulary. Not just because of that. Yes, because of activation therapy, but watching her and how she utilized it, and then how it's kind of taken on a life of its own with people wearing shirts, etc., with the quote. And so I want people to see you activated. I don't mean activated like lose your shit on them, go ballistic on them. I mean, I want people to see you evolving, how you've activated a new portion of your life. And in that activation, there is that passion that I talked about that she had, that you didn't know whether maybe she was going to explode or just make this really big move in her life. That energy of activation is what I want you to really tap into. And how do you want to activate yourself? What direction do you want to go in with your life? How do you want to evolve, and how do you want to change? And I know these are big questions, and there might not be answers that you have right now. And that's okay. What's important is you've started this journey with me. These are your first steps that we're going to move on together. And my guests will just be an added perspective and voice that you may relate to on how they've been activated and on how they've been able to harness that feeling, that energy. And it all starts with a little spark. Imagine you've just gotten a bunch of wood to build a bonfire on a beach. The wood sits there, it's inactive, it's not doing anything. You can sit on the sand of the beach and just watch that wood sit there in the darkness, listening to the waves, smelling the salt air, and that's great. But the wood is just sitting there. it's not coming to life with the possibilities of what that wood can do, what it can create with a little bit of activation. And so you sit there and you listen and you enjoy the environment a little bit, and then you keep looking back at this wood that you've stacked so neatly, but it's quiet and dark and just sitting there, not being activated. And so you decide, well, I want something different. I don't want to just look at the wood. I want to see something different. I want to make different things happen. And so you take out one of those long matches out of a box and you strike the match and you light the pile of wood. And within minutes, it's flames. It's a bonfire. The flames are dancing. You feel the heat. You see the hues and the colors of yellow and orange and red. That moment you picked up that match and struck it and lit it and put it to the fire, you activated the wood into life. You gave it its spark to change, to move, to grow, to look different, to sound different, to feel different. I want you to use this metaphor as you start to think concretely, how are you going to activate yourself? And when you feel like you're not sure, use this metaphor that I've just given you. Envision how I described it to you. And then transpose it to yourself. How are you going to activate yourself to evolve, to grow behaviorally, emotionally? Remember, those are the two aspects of activation that we want to focus on, the behavioral and the emotional, because we're learning to love ourselves. So first, it must start with a spark. What is your spark? And where is that spark going to take you? Now, you may be listening to me and it all sounds great. But will you really put it in motion? Are you just listening to me babble? Do you really want to change yourself? I hope the answer is yes. We should always want to change because we're always getting older and moving forward and are provided with so much information that we can utilize for this change. No matter what type of situation you are in. And I don't mean just small situations. Maybe it's grief. Maybe there's an addiction. Maybe you are diagnosed with a mental health illness or disorder. Maybe you've just had a breakup in a relationship. Maybe things aren't going great for you in college. Maybe you're looking at your friends and saying, why am I friends with them? These are all things that can always change in your life. It's about the energy you give them and the power you can take away from them. You can sit with them, you can grow with them, or move away from them. You must identify behaviorally and emotionally. Are these the things you want to have in your life? How are you going to cope with a diagnosis, the passing of someone, the breakup of a relationship, struggling in college? There's a little bit of problem solving that has to go on when you activate yourself, When you light that spark for change, for growth, you've also got to look at those things that have been holding you back. And it reverts back to that image when you sat in front of the mirror with your eyes closed. The things you liked about yourself, the things that you don't like about yourself. Now, grief, for example, we have no control over. It happens. And we must go through the stages of grief. But in those stages, we can focus on how we work through it and how we cope with it. We move with it to get through it. If we don't move with it, we kind of get stuck. And then that activation process becomes really difficult. So if you identify these things that you know you want to work on or change, you identify the things that you like and you want to enhance and let them grow, or little things that are kind of there, but you want to make them bigger in your life, or relationships that might need to end due to toxicity. These are all things that you must take stock in when you are about to light that spark. And that's why I asked you to jot things down. I don't want you to handle it all at one time. I want you to start with one thing on that list. One thing that's positive, to enhance, to nurture, to nourish, and one thing you would like to change and how you're going to go about making those changes. Now, to activate ourselves, it's kind of hard when we're just sitting with ourselves. Like I'm just sitting here in front of my computer in my studio and my microphone. Sometimes we have to do something to feel the power of activation, like the match with the flame to the wood creates a bonfire. So what's going to be your match that you're going to light to start that fire under you, to activate you? You can even look at activation as if almost like you're becoming your own superhero. You're activating it. And what that activation makes you feel. So we're going to go basic. We're taking the first step. What's your spark? What's going to light your bonfire? What is going to ignite you to feel activated, to move forward and through it? Well, maybe it's sitting with people who motivate you to discuss this activation process. Maybe it's something you want to do with others. But we can't always rely on other people. So we can have their support and we can say we're going to do this together, but you never know where people will follow through or not. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to focus right on you right now and some things that I can think of that can activate you. Like maybe it's about putting on a badass power suit or a badass outfit. You know, we all have those outfits that when we put on, we look a little bit better in them. For some reason, the colors or the feel of the fabric just make us feel good. That feeling when you look in the mirror and go, or you see a picture that's been taken of you in that outfit, something happens. It's almost like a magic wand. When you put on that badass outfit, you feel like a badass. And that activates you. Maybe you have somewhere in your possession, either your own, maybe you have kids, maybe you have from a previous Halloween costume, a crown that you can put at the top of your head and feel like royalty. What does royalty feel like? power, enthusiasm, a sense of control, knowing what they're doing, being confident. Put your crown on. That's your spark. That's what activates you. Maybe there's an environment that you go to or have gone to, an environment that you immerse yourself in, that whenever you go there and you leave, you feel different. Maybe you need to go to that environment to start this activation process. But really immerse yourself in it. Maybe it's going to the ocean. Maybe walking on the sand, down to the shore where the shells are all sitting. Feeling the waves rush up on your feet and slowly walking into the ocean. Being into the ocean up into your neck and bobbing with the water and dodging the waves. Maybe this feeling of the sun above you, beating down on you, makes you feel empowered. Maybe this cleansing, this washing of this moment in this environment is your activation. It's your spark. My spark sometimes is just the thoughts in my head. Thinking these random thoughts sometimes are my activation. Usually they happen when I'm outside with my earbuds in, maybe on my computer, maybe just resting my head, taking deep breaths in and out. And I have thoughts, and those thoughts are my activation for this podcast, for things I want to do in my life, things I want to do differently and better in my own mind. Sometimes those random thoughts can be my activation. I immediately jot them down because they're happening in a certain type of moment. And a lot of times when we're in those moments, we forget because our brain kind of went to a little place. And now it's when it gets back into the regular world, that moment goes away. I've used this metaphor before of the driving in the car. A lot of times we're driving in our cars. And yes, we're driving, we're watching, and we're following the rules and making sure we're watching the other drivers. But in that conscious, awake moment, there's also thoughts that come into our head. And a lot of times they're creative, they're ideas, there's things you think about that you want to do. And in that moment of driving is what activated you. So jot down those thoughts, because I guarantee the minute you turn the car off and close the car door and hear the beep, beep, it's locked, the thought's going to be gone. So a lot of times those activating thoughts need to be jotted down because they happen in unusual moments. Are you getting the gist here? Things that activate us are things that are creative, make us feel powerful, that are encouraging, make us feel like we're in control, or that there's hope. Hope for change, hope for movement, hope for improving or getting better. It's a hopeful feeling when you're activated. Now, I hope it goes beyond hope and it creates an energy in you, like the word sounds, activated. Remember I said it could be also related like with radioactivity, like something being activated. It's a powerful word, and that's why it's utilized as activation therapy. And how you're going to activate yourself to love yourself more. I can only give you these thoughts and these ideas and personal experiences or experiences that I know clients that I've worked with have gone through over the years. But really, you're your own spark. I might give you the match, the thought process of activation. But you have to strike the match, and you have to light the bonfire within inside you to be activated. Put that crown on. Put that badass outfit on. Put those new cool shoes you just bought that when you wear them, you feel like you have a bounce in your step. Activate yourself. There is so much power that is within inside of you that can be utilized for healthy behavioral and emotional aspects for you. I mean, don't you want to be activated? I mean, like Lindsay Hubbard says, you don't want to see me activated. Well, that could mean that she's going to go off on somebody, but it also could be mean wait, watch, and look. Because when I'm activated, there's no stopping me. The world is limitless for you. You just have to light the spark deep down inside your belly. Find what will activate you. And this is your first steps into loving yourself, maybe for the first time. Maybe you've fallen a little out of love with yourself. You feel a little humdrum. Maybe you love yourself already. And you can love yourself more. Just be humble. That's another topic for people who love themselves too much. We don't want to go there. Be humble with it. But love yourself. And sometimes it just has to start with a little spark. Thank you for joining me, Elise here, aka the Fiery Redhead. Go to all my social media. I've got great content on there. Go to my website. There's new and exciting things for you to find to expand your horizons. And look for my new branding. It's all new looks, sounds, and insights. Remember, positive thoughts always create positive energy. Go out into the wide open spaces in your world and explore all those things out there. And until next time, my friends, ciao and merci.